All right, we are live. And hello, everybody. This is Claudio Alegre, and welcome to episode 11, season 3 of The Daily Pill, a webcast sponsored by our parent company, Angel Home Care Services, providing caregiving services and direct care to Miami Dade and Monroe residents, families, brothers, sisters, parents, everybody, right here in South Florida. And so, by the way, while it's fresh in your mind, go to angelhomecareservices.net and download your free copy of How to Have Your Elderly Parents Properly Cared For Without Going Broke in the Process. It's an ultimate guide to pretty much getting home care services without relying solely on your insurance benefits, which sadly are never enough, and the charity of others, which is greatly appreciated, but again, usually inconsistent and not enough. So it's free and it's yours if you want it. Just go to angelhomecareservices.net and just grab it. All right. So hurricane season is almost here. If you're a family caregiver, that means that you have to prepare better than most. And of course, there's always, if you work with an agency already, or if you don't, we have all these kinds of brochures, like in Spanish, in English, in Creole, in 20 languages, emergency evacuation assistance programs, thicker brochures with, a bunch of really cool stuff in here. And so you can just reach out to any agency. I haven't sent you one of these, but I wanted to kind of go the extra mile for this, for this episode. Which is why I begged, Carrie Clinton to take time out of her busy schedule to share with us some really, really good tips on how to be better prepared, especially as family caregivers. Carrie is a family homeowners insurance specialist, and I'm sure I'm covering that, title. She's has over she shares a passion for people first and property second, which is what I love about her. And she has over a decade of experience in helping families protect themselves and their properties. So Carrie, thank you so much for being here. What's up? What are you up to?
I know. Well, you know what? In less than a couple of weeks, it's hurricane season. And believe it or not, we have a blog out there already, and it's not even hurricane season. Could you imagine if they say we're going to move the date of hurricane season to a little bit closer? We got to be out on the vigil for hurricanes out there. It's like it right now here in South Florida.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, if you've been living here for any period of time, it just never gets old, right? It's always the same anxiety and always the same issues, and that's just endemically, right? That's for everybody. So if you're caring for someone at home, if they have equipment, if they have things, the stakes are actually a little bit higher, right? The anxiety and the stress level usually rises a lot faster. So when you and I were talking before how we're going to tackle this, you were just in conversation. You told me a few things that I didn't even know, and I said, "Man, we got to talk about those, 3 little things or 4 things, or like this bunch of little hacks that you were just, you were telling me in conversation." So I decided to just ask you one big question and then break those down, those 3 or 4 things down as part of the conversation. And so here's my question, right? This is the big question, so that I think I call it the umbrella question, right? If you had to narrow down 3 things, or the 3 things that we sons and daughters in care of our elderly parents' health and well-being, right? What 3 things should we be focusing on this hurricane season? If we had nothing else, if you only could tell me 3 things, right? What would these be? And by the way, I might interrupt you. I'm kind of jittery that way if I see a comment or something like that, but I won't I won't get us, of course. My wife hates it when I do that, but anyways, I can't help it. I need medication for that. But so the question is, what three things do we absolutely, in your opinion, need to be doing to better prepared for this season as sons and daughters in care of our elderly parents?
Absolutely. I think that's a great question because I myself have an elderly parent as well. My dad is 83. So I know the importance of making sure that we, the children, understand our parents' needs and be able to help them, especially in the time of hurricane, right? So I think the first thing that we as children need to be a little bit more mindful of is my parents' policy active? Is the policy active? Just yesterday in the news, about three companies is starting to non-renew about 60,000 policies. Is your parents one of those 60,000 people? You might need to get shopping on a quote, might realize certain things. So you might want to make sure first that policy is active. And then another part to that question is, do you know your agent? Do you know who your agent's name is? Is it Elizabeth at State Farm or Kathy down at Universal Property and Casualty? So you want to know your agent because your agent is only really available during normal working business hours, right? But you do have some agents that they work all around the clock. So you might be able to get, if you have one of those type of agents. But thirdly, to that first part question is you want to make sure you know the insurance company that is going to pay out your claim. So you might be with Clover.com, but the insurance company that will pay out the claim is going to be Universal Property and Casualty or Tower Hill Insurance or another name company. So you want to know the difference because when you need to file a claim, you will be calling the direct insurance company that is open 24 hours, 7 days a week. So you don't want to frantically call your agent at 1 a.m. and no one answers. So just be aware, make sure the policy is active, make sure that you know the difference between your insurance company and your insurance agent. Another thing that we as children can do for our elderly parents is, we all have a smartphone. When you go over, take an inventory, walk around the room. So if they have a baby grand piano, the expensive rugs that they collected over the years. So if there is a claim, and now you're showing before inventory and after, you can easily fill out the sheet and give it to the adjuster and say, this is what I know for sure was in my parents' home on May 19th at 8:30 after seeing the Daily Pill on Facebook. So, that's a good thing that us as children need to do for our parents, have a before and after, because sometimes our parents cannot even recall things they've contributed 20 to 30 years ago. The third thing I would say is if your parent is living in a home and you're responsible for the roof, right? You might want to make sure that you have a tarp because what if we have a category 6? And I know I'm overreacting, right? My husband said that's every year. You're like, you make it such a big deal. As soon as hurricane season's coming around, I'm like, listen, so have a tarp because if everyone's roof is destroyed on the block, do you want to be in that situation where the tarps are not available? To tarp the roof might take a little bit longer. I think that is one of the most important things that you should have. Now, we can go into it a lot more when you talk about now we have a hurricane. It's damaged our house. I think us as children, for our parents, sometimes don't recall what our deductible is for a hurricane. There's usually 3 deductibles. It could be a flat amount, whether it's $1, $1,000, or it could be a percentage amount. And the normal percentage amount on a hurricane insurance policy is 2%. So if the policy is covering the house for $280,000 and your deductible is 2%, that means if the adjuster comes out to the house, they're going to, and let's say they say, it's $30,000 to rebuild your home. Your deductible is $5,600. You're going to get a check for your parents' home minus $5,600. So it's very important that we realize the out-of-pocket expenses that we can incur for our parents. And obviously that's where they live. So we have to make sure that we can act quickly and put them back whole. So just knowing these things so that we're not caught off guard is I think, almost rewarding when it's hurricane season. There's no power, right?
Yep, yep. And by the way, I noticed that as you went through these three things, the whole uh, the whole tarp thing, which I think you also told me that there's actually a number that you can call, or like how to, if something happens and you get a leak, how to tarp it up really quick, right? Like those are things that you can't have a leak, right into your rug. You can't afford most people, and that's just basically property, right? But then after that comes mold and dust, and you have elderly people in the house, so but everything that you've just mentioned right now, it's really easy to kind of get a handle on. You just have to take a little bit of time to plan, and then have these things accessible to you at pretty much at arm's length. I don't see like there's nothing really much. It should be, keeping it simple to me is the best the best policy for proper planning. I think that's why I always like to simplify things. Like, I'm an oversimplifier anyways, to a fault. But then again, I'm not putting satellites in orbit. I would be horrible doing that. But for like everything that you've mentioned is pretty easy to do. It's not that complicated. It's just that because of that, we don't do them. And then the wind
That's
blows,
true.
something happens, and now we're struggling at the worst possible time.
Right. And that's why it's so amazing that you're having this type of topic. It's early. So it's not, we normally get the storms July, September. So an ongoing conversation about, hey, since your parents are not so savvy on the telephone, do you have the company's app downloaded on your cell phone? So if you need to quickly pull up their information, maybe you cannot get to their home where the file cabinet is with the insurance paper. All these companies have an app. Download the app so that you can easily accessible get that. And then, I was just looking up how much is the average tarp is for a home, maybe 2,500 square feet at Home Depot. It's about $169. You probably could get it cheap, but I just did a quick search. So someone says, I can't get a tarp right now. If you put in an order, you'll get a tarp. So that might be, there's ways that we can help our parents, if they don't have one. And then, of course, it's a domino, like you said, a fish going up the stream. When we do have that tarp, who are we gonna call to put the tarp on the roof? Are we gonna have
Well, you
someone
can call your
ready?
agent. You can call your agent, and he'll set you up with a crew, or is that something that you're on your own?
Well, it's both. If you can find someone to do it, absolutely. You can call your agency, and they're probably going to refer you to a roofing company. Until your actual insurance company comes out, they will tarp it for you, and they might even they will provide a tarp. But if we're having, devastation where it's a level 5 or 4, and we just have massive roofs, not everyone is going to get to just like that. It takes
Right.
time in the process, and materials run out.
But
So
do you have to file a claim to be able to get a tarp and a bunch of guys to put it up? Is that
right,
post?
yes. If
Yeah.
if
Okay.
you're asking for a tarp, then you definitely have some leaks.
Okay.
So you're filing a claim at that point, and it's going to be due to a hurricane. So a lot of people also are scared to file claims. If it's a hurricane and your home is truly destroyed, yes, they're going to come out and they're going to see, well, a storm just passed. So that's very different from, I had a pipe break in the home. Is that looked upon, how long is that on my records for? And that's usually 5 years. Whereas a hurricane, that's an act of God. There's not something that you could have prevented.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure that you do fix your home and get it whole, and speak to your insurance agent or company.
Okay. And also, you mentioned something that or something else that we don't think about, or we do it right after, is actually taking video inventory, right, throughout the
Right.
house, which is like a super like duh type of idea, which, by the way, you should always do whether it's hurricane season or not, just to make sure, because most family caregivers, they have other people coming into the house, right? And again, a lot of families have cameras on all the time just for their protection, their parents' protection, and all that. It's not because you distrust anybody. It's just good business sense. But so having an active video, actually take video of furniture, of potential problem areas already. I know that when we could do it, we would go to the houses and make sure that the houses, we do like a safety protocol, right?
Right.
Because the number one reason why elderly people get hurt and complicated is when they fall, right? You know, you take a fall, you break a hip, and usually that's the beginning of the end, right? For many. And so you want to try to avoid that. And so usually I now tell the families, just take a video of the house. Let me see what's going on, I mean, I don't do it. Our director of nursing and our healthcare team does it, but that's like very similar. And it could be applied to the same thing. The wind blows, but do it before, right? Like you're saying,
Right.
You take this video before a window breaks and the rain comes, right?
Right. Oftentimes I hear people say, I only have a video when there was a Christmas party or a birthday party. And I'm like, don't be shy to videotape your home, because you don't want to have a hurricane claim, fill out all the paperwork, and realize something was thrown out and it wasn't accounted for having this video. They want to put you exactly the same way, unless you want to upgrade, then that's a different story.
Yeah.
But you want to make sure, and that it's just not just inventory inside, the outside as well. How many patio chairs could potentially fly around?
Sure.
Let's bring those in. How's the fence around the home? Does it look like it already is about to blow over if the wind blows? Or no, it's probably going to cost me $12,000 to replace the fence around the home. So having a picture of everything, the trees. And by doing this, you might notice that there are certain things that you want to do more for your parents. You might realize that their mango trees is hovering too much over the roof. So why not think about getting that trimmed back so that they don't have to worry about that? You might notice that mom and dad has a little bit too much gardening items outside. Maybe we want to say, hey, when we're done with these or whatever, we pack them up so that they don't fly around, because that happens. It truly does happen.
Or start making a list of the new plans that you're going to need, because they won't be there, when the whole thing's over.
Exactly. So us as children, we can do a lot to help our parents. So the moment we have a storm, not just worrying about the car part, but also making sure that the generator, if there is one, that you might have, checked it way before hurricane season. Did you see what happened at the gas stations recently? There was no gas. So just imagine that with a storm, so you might want, if your parents have a generator, go and check it out for them.
Yeah, it happened to me once, actually. I think it was Wilma, and I had a generator. I brand new. I'd never started it. And I had the hardest time getting that sucker to start. I didn't think it was going to work. So I had a friend of mine come over that knows, is a lot more mechanically inclined than I. He did a couple of things, and I started right away. And then after that, I learned how to do it. But you're right. You don't know. You don't know until you actually try to do what you think you know. Right? Or it's easy to do.
Yeah, those instructions look pretty easy until you're understanding what is a choke.
Yeah, exactly. No, their cartoons always look awesome, right? They're in crayons, right? They're written for second graders and third graders, right? So it's not like it's complicated, but you still need to go through the motions of doing it, right? Like you say, if you're choking, that I didn't know what that was until I actually, did it wrong, So, but it's so important to actually almost go through like pre-hurricane testing equipment, right? Or have like simulation or something like that, but simple, nothing crazy. It doesn't have to just have everything. Just prepare, and talk to the right people. if you don't have questions along the lines of what you're talking about, we'll call someone like you and say, hey, what are the 3 things I need to have ready to rock and roll here?
Absolutely.
We certainly get calls from families. Like, this is a very, very busy season for us, because of, vacation, the summer, we need to cover for a lot of aides that go on vacation. But in addition to that, you have the wind starts blowing, the rain starts coming, people get excited. There's a hiccup, and then there's no gas, like we just saw, right? But Carrie, what's the easiest way for people to find you if they wanted to talk to you?
If anyone had any questions or concerns or even needed a policy review or business affiliations, you can reach me by email or visit in my company's webpage, clover.com. My email is kc0903@clover.com, and I believe you have it in here in the video. But if they cannot get to me, I'm sure I see you every Wednesday. So you can always email me or even text me or call me and say, hey, someone saw the Daily Pill and they wanted to get some more advice or just a review of something and hear your input. We're always here to be of service. We never want to hear a customer call in for a claim, and the first thing we have to advise them is that the policy is canceled. So, it's just really sad because then there's no coverage that can be afforded if it's not even active.
Correct.
So you can definitely reach me through the Daily Pill at clover.com. You can call, email, or even text me. I will respond, and I will, be happy to be a service to you, to anyone that needs any kind of homeowners insurance guidance or auto guidance.
Thank you. And as a matter of fact, I think that throughout the whole season, I think I'm going to have you come on board, at least, once a month or something like that, just to, rehatch a lot of these little tips. And as we get deeper into the season, have you come over and basically make sure that, I really want to make sure that people know what you do and what you're doing. And if they have any questions, that easy way, an easy way to reach you. And of course, they could always ask me, who's that girl that you had in your show and all of that. And then of course, all of this is going to get transcribed, which, I'm going to make a blog post about it, and then I'm going to publish it on our website. And then of course, that's going to go back to social media. And then, I'm going to call you to, get more little tips from you and stuff like that from the perspective in the context of homeowners, right? And home protection and all of that, but I really, really thank you for taking the time. I know that you're super busy. We see each other once a week in our network, in another group that we're together, but we've never had the chance to actually spend some quality time together live on the air, sharing, at least you sharing your ability to help the community as much as you're currently doing. So I really appreciate your time. We're going to do it again. Pencil me in, please. I'll let you know with plenty of time. I'll let you know with plenty of time, like at least 2 to 3 weeks ahead of time, so that we're not like scrambling for a slot or anything like that. Does that sound good?
Oh, that sounds absolutely. Yes. I hope to be back on, and we can definitely build on and just remind folks, just keep it present, at least until we pass hurricane season. We're like, until next time, 2022.
I know. It's so cyclical on our end, and I know it in yours as well. So Carrie, thank you so much. So everybody, there you have it. Thank you for showing up. Next week, we're going to have a guest, and we're going to talk about Social Security benefits, right? It's a big topic. I'm always getting asked about Social Security benefits. And so I'm going to have a guest that you're going to love. The man has forgotten more about Social Security benefits than most of us will probably learn in a lifetime. So that's the kind of guy that you want to be talking to when it comes to such a highly specialized area of finance and social service as that. So thank you so much. I appreciate you watching, and then I will talk to you soon. See you next week. Take care. Bye.